Loretta Lorraine. We have a cab member. Gracias, Tita. And thank you everyone else. Ana Maria, gracias por estar aquí. And then thank you, Ms. Loretta, for sharing your zip code. Cool. I think we can go to the next slide while we do that. Thank you, Lisa, for including your zip code. Cool. So these are the goals, right, of our policy department. And when we talked about policy work, this is the reason why we are invested in being part of this work, and we find it important to engage the community. Can I get a volunteer to read our goals, please?
I'll go ahead and read the first goal, and then I'll pass it to Alexandra. So the TransLatin Coalition policy goals, the first one is to pass legislation that advances equity for the TGI community at local and state levels. And in Spanish, I'll read that as well. Aprobar legislación que promueve equidad para nuestra comunidad trans, género non conforme y intersexuales a nivel local y estatal.
Number 2 is build relationships with key elected officials and stakeholders to increase visibility and awareness of TGI communities. Número 2 es establecer relaciones con funcionarios electos clave y partes interesadas para aumentar la visibilidad y conciencia de comunidades TGI. Also take number 3. Increase the political engagement of TGI communities and locally and statewide. Número 3, aumentar la participación política de las comunidades TGI a nivel local y estatal.
Gracias, Ace y Alexandra. Next slide. Cool. So we are going to briefly discuss part of our TGI policy platform and priorities. Alexandra, Ace, would you like to talk a little bit about that and our statewide work?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this on. So our policy platform and priorities. If you haven't yet, we invite you to look at our trans policy agenda. The trans policy agenda is located on our website at the very bottom, and you'll see the words trans policy agenda. You click on it, and then you're able to see our work in writing and all of the priorities that we have since 2018. In 2018, we worked to develop the trans policy agenda. It's a comprehensive report with over 40 plus policy recommendations to improve the lives of our communities. It guides the policy work of the organization. In 2020, 2 pieces of legislation passed that we wrote into the report 2 years ago, AB 2218 and SB 132. This year passed AB 2521, an update on the language of the bill. And I'll go ahead and translate this in Spanish. Nuestra plataforma de política y prioridades, lo que es la agenda de Transpóliza, está localizada, si no han ido a nuestra página de web, que es en la TransLatinaCoalition.org. Pueden encontrar esta agenda en lo más abajo de la página, y cliquean lo que es las palabras Transpolicy Agenda y luego la pueden leer. En el 2018 trabajamos para desarrollar la agenda política trans, un informe completo con más de 40 recomendaciones políticas para mejorar la vida de nuestras comunidades. Este informe guía el trabajo de política de la organización. En el año 2020, se aprobaron 2 leyes que escribimos en el informe hace 2 años, AB 2218 y SB 132. Este año aprobaron AB 2521, actualizaciones del idioma. Entonces, esto es lo que guía las prioridades de la organización TransLatin Coalition.
Gracias, Alexandra. Next slide. Cool. So in addition to doing the state work, we are also, we're able to pass different, the TGI Wellness and Equity Fund, we're able to establish that and do budget advocacy. So we continue to grow, and we've been focusing our work at the LA County level. I've had the opportunity to support Bambi, who just joined us. Thank you, Bambi, for joining us. And the TransLatin Coalition as co-chairs and leaders of the steering committee of these different campaigns and initiatives at the county level. So I'll touch briefly on those at the next slide. So as I mentioned, we have two campaigns, two main coalitions that we support. The first one, we serve as co-chairs of the Immigrants Are Late campaign. Thank you, Danielle, for being here, one of representing COFEM, one of our other co-chair organizations in that coalition. And that work was mobilizing and organizing and working with the county to ensure that there was an equitable investment of immigrant communities in the county, specifically around the American Rescue Plan funds, or ARPA funds that have been allocated. And again, that work continues in terms of what that implementation looks like. When we ask for funds or for services for our community, right, the county will then figure out a way to disperse that. We want to be part of that process as well. The second one is the coordinating committee of the Reimagine LA Measure J implementation campaign towards a Care First budget. So again, Measure J was looking into different alternatives to incarceration, and really looking at the county to not just to truly invest in the well-being of communities, right, and not just criminalizing different communities. And again, TGI folks are immigrants, and TGI folks are residents of LA County, and TGI folks are impacted, right, by the criminalization or the history of underinvestment or no investment. So this is why when we talked about uplifting and upholding TGI lives, we want to make sure that the county is truly supporting it and investing in such work. And then again, quickly around other initiatives at the county level, whether that's us advocating, right, Bambi, through meeting with elected officials, leading these different campaigns, being part of communications work and media and social media work to bring forward these issues and uplift it. Also means working with the county, meeting with them, doing different listening sessions, and going to their meetings and truly letting them know that we exist, right? And then there's obviously a need, and we are mobilizing our communities for that. So some of that work is the Anti-Racism, Diversity, and Inclusion Initiative, also known as ARDI. The Care First Committee and Investment, again, after Measure J, the county really took it on to create a Care First budget, a budget that does not look into criminalizing people, but actually looking at a community investment. Sexual orientation and gender identity, data collection, or SOGI. Again, if the county is not intentionally collecting data or tailoring services to our communities, then of course the county is not going to have any numbers or any research to back up that our community exists. So sort of the SOGI work was some of this foundation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And obviously ending the HIV epidemic plan and different COVID-19 and monkeypox mobile vaccination clinics and community education. So a lot of that is literally doing work that Alexandra and other folks in the policy department have led around the counties trying to implement these services, and their policy is not inclusive or does not make it accessible for our communities to exist. I'm going to take a pause here before we talked about how folks can get involved to see if there are any questions about our TGI policy agenda, about our county work, or about our statewide work before we continue. ¿Alguna preguntas antes de continuar? You can also, hey, hi Celestial, yes, our cab members here. Everyone feel free to unmute or put it in the chat box. And I will give a couple more seconds so folks can unmute and or share if they have a question. Cool. All right, well, we can go to the next slide. So how can you get involved? So ¿cómo pueden involucrarse en el diferente trabajo que hacemos a nivel local, a nivel estatal, en términos de políticas, en términos de iniciativas, en términos de una inversión justa para la comunidad transgénero no conforme e intersexual? Y cómo hacer de que nuestra voces sean escuchadas, nuestra presencia sea sea captada y obviamente que el condado no nada más diga que apoya a nuestra comunidad, pero a través de sus iniciativas políticas y fondos y recursos inviertan en nuestra comunidad. So we do that, the public comments. We're going to have a whole training next month for folks to know. At the state level, right, there's called Me Too, or whether it's virtual because of COVID, right? There's like hybrid models. The county, you can do that in person, you can do it over the phone. So, comentario público es algo que hacemos en diferentes reuniones, en diferentes cuerpos legislativos, ya sea en el estado o en el condado, y por dado COVID, lo puedes dar virtualmente o término híbrido o ya sea por el teléfono en el condado. You can share on social media. So again, TLC Bambi has been leading this work as co-chairs, right? As an advocate, as a leader in our community. So we want to make sure that that is also uplifted by other folks in our communities because we have access to those tools. So utilizando las redes sociales para compartir este trabajo y poder utilizar esos medios como una herramienta para poder amplificar nuestro mensaje. Y por último, prestando tu experiencia. So the last thing will be lending your expertise. Again, the county, all these folks at the state level, all these representative elected officials, right? They may have the language or they may know the process of how they like to do things, right? And how they want to see change come about or policies be enacted. But we are the experts of our communities, right? Each single one of you as a transgender, non-conforming, and intersex individual in the county, you have a lot of not just lived experiences, but you also have a lot of resources and connections within your community to be able to inform these policies. And again, just because we may not have access to that language doesn't mean that we don't have knowledge and resources and things to contribute to this process. Y por último, poder asegurarnos de que puedan participar y prestar su experiencia en este proceso. Sabemos que el condado, funcionarios o representantes tienen cierto lenguaje o proceso para poder efectuar estas políticas, pero creo que es importante también denotar de que nosotras, como miembros de la comunidad, tenemos experiencia vivida, tenemos sabiduría y tenemos mucho que aportar para formar y crear estas políticas. Next slide, Ace. Thank you, Ace. Cool. So now we are going to do the active part of our presentation. I will stop talking and sharing, and if everyone, we're going to click on it, and then can someone drop the link on the chat box so folks can see it? So it's going to be a needs assessment on a Google form. You'll be able to share this with other people, so other folks that may not have been able to join can get involved. Thank you, Ace, for the link. You can do this on your pace. We're gonna go over it together so that everyone has the opportunity to feel to feel guided through it if that's something that you may need. If not, it's fairly simple. It's just 3 questions around data collection and then 6-8 questions around some of the policy work. So we're gonna go back to the presentation, Ace, so that we can walk through it together. And also, I do want to now open it because we want to have more of a town hall for people to share. We'll take about 1 or 2 people for every question. I know the couple ones are people were shared on the chat box. Next slide. Did everyone have access to the survey? Please give us a thumbs up.
The survey needs to be modified where folks outside of TransLatin now can access it.
Okay, let me do that. Thank you. Thank you for catching that, Celestial. And if I knew how to do that, send. Oh, I see. All right. Anyone with the link? Cute. Thank you, Celestial. So if everyone can refresh the link, we can, and give us a thumbs up that you're able to see the survey and that it is live. Thank you, Yarit. for the thumbs up. I think that means people should have it. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go back to the, oh, there you go. Yes, thank you. So yeah, when you click on it, open it. So we'll go to the first question. Next slide. Again, our zip code, right, is just around so we can map where our community is. We'll talk about the different districts that exist within the county, and we can do that. The second question is very optional, right? We want to make sure that we want to see which language people identified. And that's why it's very open, any gender o género. So las primeras dos preguntas es su código postal. Queremos poder tener, saber dónde se encuentra nuestra comunidad. Y del segundo, género. Do we have one or two folks who would like to share, unmute or put it in the chat box? We're doing the survey multiple ways, in the form, in the Google Forms, in this town hall, and in the chat box. Who would like to share? Yanni, did you unmute?
Did I what?
Oh, I just saw you unmuted, so I don't know if you wanted to share.
Oh,
We're
no.
just
No, that was an accident. Sorry.
okay, no worries. Folks can also drop it in the chat box if you feel more comfortable doing so as well. Again, we want to make sure that there's different opportunities to capture this data. Good question. Okay, I just got a question about supervisor names. So the third question, we're gonna keep going, is who's your county supervisor? Again, it's a very open blank space. You can leave it blank, you can look it up, you can cheat and look it up on Google really quickly, but we're all gonna learn together as part of this process, right? And it also, part of this assessment, it helps us capture how familiar folks in the community are with their representatives, or the way the different policy and bodies are created. So that's okay. Okay, we're gonna learn who your supervisor is in a minute. Again, none of these are mandatory, so you can click next, and then you can continue, and then you can come back. Si esta es la primera vez que ven un formulario así, lo estamos llenando aquí juntas, se pueden quitar de mudo para poder compartir o en la casilla de chat, y ninguna de las preguntas son mandatorias, se pueden regresar o continuar para que puedan captar la mayor información posible. Next slide, please. Cool. So now we should all be on the second page. So on the top of the page, so we did our zip code, our gender, and our supervisory district, and our supervisor. So on the next page, you'll see 6 questions with different headings: educational access, housing, economic stability, and housing. Match what you see on the screen here on the presentation. So the first 2 things we want to do is we're going to refer back to our policy agenda, and the first question is we're going to be doing 2 questions for each category. There's 6 categories or issues. So the first one is educational access and research justice. So the first question is, what are some of the programs or resources that exist or that should be increased or should be created in LA County? I'm not actually created, that should be increased, right? So for example, it could be like a pilot program or something like that, a nonprofit or an organization or a school that you may know they provide, right? So we want to expand that. We want to make sure that it grows to better fit the needs of our community. So la primera área es acceso a educación y justicia en informe. So, ¿cuáles son algunos programas o recursos que existen o que deberían incrementarse en el condado de Los Ángeles? And now I really would like for folks to share. So whether that is the first question on what does exist, or on the second question, which is what are some of the challenges the TGI folks face when facing this, some of these programs. Or some programs that we would like to see, right? Because they don't exist. So that's a challenge, them not existing. Our community cannot access to education or to research, right? Data collection, counting who we are, if it does not exist. So anyone can unmute and let me know. I'm gonna say that in Spanish really quickly. Alguien que guste compartir acerca de qué programas o recursos existen en el condado o nos gustaría ver en el condado, en términos de acceso a educación y en términos de justicia en informes. y cuáles son algunos de los desafíos que nuestra comunidad enfrenta al tener acceso a estos recursos.
I think they need to have more mental health services on other cities.
Mental health services. Okay, thank you, Melissa. So mental health is on the third one, right? If you scroll down, you see holistic and accessible universal healthcare. I mean, it's all related, right? Education is part of our health, so we can include it there, okay? We can also include in some of the challenges, as you say, right? It could be that it's not in all the cities. So maybe we can list specific regions or cities where we would like to see some more mental health resources.
Yeah, I'm telling you this because I was trying to put my kids on the mental health, and I was been waiting for 6-7 months to get answer from them. So it's like it's not really have. I mean, they need more expand the programs or more people to provide services.
Thank you, Melissa. So again, there's 6 general categories. You can fill it out. You can fill it out and determine, right, which under which issue or which category you think it best fits. If you do not know of any, right, whether it's economic justice or housing, we're going to talk about that in a minute, or whether it is education, access, or research. If there aren't any, you can leave it blank. Anyone would like to share anything on economic stability and housing equity? Vamos a movernos a la segunda categoría. Si piensan de que hay otros recursos o programas en diferente categoría, pueden moverlos y llenarlos, o si no existen, también podemos hacer nota de eso, ¿verdad? Entonces vamos a compartir acerca de estabilidad económica y equidad en vivienda, algunos programas o recursos o retos. Any challenges or programs that exist for TJ folks' economic stability and housing equity?
Hello? Yeah. My name is
Marie.
Mark. Hi, Byron. How you doing? I don't know what exists actually, but I know that there's a problem with reentry housing, far as trans masculine and trans feminine individuals, like actually having somewhere to go that's actually sensitive to transgender needs, you know, and identity, instead of places that kind of say they accept transgenders and are as sensitive to that, but then in turn don't really respect the person's identity. And so a lot of times people become frustrated and head to the streets because there isn't any space, and then they go back into their addiction. And I've experienced it, and then firsthand, I just lost a very close friend of mine that spent like 30 plus years in prison, who's always been aggressive, masculine, transgender individual, and they passed away, and they didn't want to come into housing because they don't like, you know, the treatment and the insensitivity to transgender people. So like, I'm just concerned about how could we go about creating more spaces for that, and also places where people can basically get clean. Like there needs to be more drop-in centers, because there's these addresses on lists of paper, but then the places don't really provide the services.
Thank you, Maurice, for sharing. Yeah, definitely. Right when we talked about housing, we can look into definitely also looking into re-entry. We're recording this so we can better capture everyone's feedback. We'll be able to walk through folks through the survey so we can share with other community members. So, you know, we can capture it through there. Or again, just put in the chat, but thank you, Maurice, and also for uplisting the other issues around like substance abuse, as Bambi did in the chat box as well. And obviously, yeah, specifically right around like TGI masculine folks, TGI trans feminine folks, and for the county, not just to say, well, we allocated X amount of dollars to shelter, right, or to whatever program, if it's not specific to our communities. So thank you for capturing that and sharing that. Anyone else around education or housing? I see a hand. Anyone else? If not, we'll go to Alexandra.
Can they hear me? Nikki,
Oh, and I think Paolo, did you raise your hand? Sorry.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Miss Lorraine would
Well,
like it would be nice to have a vocational for people that have Alzheimer's and dementia, because I have a friend right now that's going to Alzheimer's and dementia, and she needs a space where you can be around people and it can bring her back into reality. And it's always good to have something because we're older and also brand new people, because we go through changes and stuff like that, where we can have a vocational thing where people can entertain themselves and talk about their self and their well-being, but what they're going through, their with whatever click in their head or whatever, to help them out. You understand where I'm coming from?
Thank you, Ms. Loretta. Yes, and this is why we want to have these town halls. We want the county to also do part of this process, right? So that different members of our community are uplifted, whether it's folks in reentry, whether it's folks on abuse, but also thank you, Ms. Loretta, for representing both our CAB and our Diamonds group, right? Our
¿Escuchas?
18 with Grace members.
¿Escuchas?
Sí. Sí. Sí, Kimberly. ¿O quién quería compartir? No sé. Se quitaron de mudo. Ok. Mientras compartimos, vamos a abrir la tercera categoría para que las personas puedan ver. And thank you, B, for the suggestion in the chat box. I'm going to look at it right now. Holistic, accessible, and universal healthcare, which is another one that we mentioned earlier. So the first three in this page is going to be educational access, economic stability and housing, and holistic, accessible, and universal healthcare. So algunos otros programas o recursos o retos en términos de acceso a educación, estabilidad económica y equidad de vivienda, o cuidado médico integral, accesible y universal. And if you're just filling it out on the survey and you're done, thank you for that. You can, since it's live, you can now share with other people. Si ya completaron la encuesta en el formulario de su página individual, pueden submitirlo y compartirlo con otras personas en la comunidad. Next slide, please. So again, the next set of questions is going to be around ending policing, state violence. The next slide. Thank you. Ending policing, state violence, and criminalization. So la segunda área de enfoque de nuestro asunto de nuestra agenda de política TGI se embarca terminando la vigilancia, violencia estatal y la criminalización de nuestras comunidades. So what are some of the resources, right? Or some of the programs, or what is needed for our community so we can end the policing? And because we know we may be a small number, right? The county may say that we're not counted enough, that we're such a small part of the population, but we see ourselves, right, like overrepresented in terms of like harassment, instead of like arrests, instead of like folks being detained and part of that process. So anyone would like to share around that part? And I think, right, as Maurice mentioned earlier, a lot of these issues are overlapping, right? And as folks in the TGS community, we are the epitome of that, or these issues overlapping, and also us being able to take that into our hands to address it. Subsidy programs that are inclusive to trans migrants and folks who don't have access to Section 8, right? CFC funds where there's a subsidy program separate from Section 8. Cool, thank you everyone for sharing in the chat box as well. Substance abuse prevention, diversion programs, and alternatives to incarceration and economic development, including entrepreneurship opportunities. Cool. The next one is decriminalizing migration and global trans rights. So as being mentioned, right, folks that may not qualify for Section 8 or specific programs within the county, specifically if they want all this documentation as part of it. And the last one is gender justice and identity autonomy. So what programs, resources the county has created or should be creating, and what are some of the challenges we face in terms of access to resources to for folks to be able to identify, right, and be able to live their lives as who they are. So las últimas tres categorías rápidamente serían terminando la vigilancia, violencia estatal y criminalización, despenalizar la migración y derechos transglobales, y justicia de género y autonomía de identidad. For the sake of time, I want us to move to community mapping. So we are going to briefly go through the next set of slides and start doing some of that. Everyone please share on the chat box. So community mapping, this is the Board of Supervisors. It is a body made out of 5 people. The whole county is divided into, all 10 million residents is divided into 5 districts. We're going to briefly learn about these districts and spend more time on each one of them in a minute. So the first one is District 1, Hilda Solis. So again, if you see right here at the bottom right corner of the map, that's downtown LA. And then it pretty much goes inland east through the San Gabriel Valley, all up to Orange County and San Bernardino County, and meets the border with them. The next district is District 2, where TransLatin Coalition is, our offices are located. I've always lived in SC2. So again, we see parts, it kind of juts into downtown, and then it kind of goes into the central, right, where Tracy is, K-Town, Mid-City, that whole area, and then it goes south in through South Central and West Adams and different parts west and the southwest of the county. And on the side for each district, you'll see the cities, unincorporated areas, and then the neighborhoods within the city of Los Angeles that represents the district. The next slide is SD3, Supervisor Sheila Kuehl. She is retiring, so her seat tomorrow is the only one that is up for election. So tomorrow we will see who will be the new representative for this district, and that term will start in December. So again, we see it kind of juts into on the bottom right corner, you see like Hollywood, right? And then it's all of the west side, all of West Hollywood, all up into the valley. And then all the way west, like Malibu, Santa Monica Mountains, all the way to Ventura County. Next slide is SD4. Janice Hahn, so Long Beach, part of the South Bay, Palos Verdes. Let me stop messing up the slide while we're doing this slide. And Southeast Los Angeles. So for folks that are connected with different CELA collaborative or different groups in Southeast Los Angeles, that is the area, that is the 4th district. And the last district, the 5th one, is yep, there it is, Melissa. The 5th district is right here, District 5, Catherine Barger. So she's really the whole north of the county. As you can see, it's like Ventura, Kern, and San Bernardino all around it. And it's parts of the valley. It comes into like the Glendale, North Hollywood, Los Feliz neighborhood, and then also the north part of the San Gabriel Valley. Cool, yeah, and then those are the cities. So the next one is this going to take us to our Jamboard. We're going to share the Jamboard on the chat box. If you feel comfortable using it, you're more than welcome to. If not, you can share with us as we go district by district, and we are going to, we can make a note of it for you. Thank you, or can we screen share the Jamboard, please? And again, y esa es la razón por la cual queremos saber su código postal, porque a través de ese código podemos ver quién es su representante y en cuál distrito del condado viven. This is why we need your zip code. So for District 1, we don't have to spend a lot of time. We can do this together. Thank you, Aiden, for joining the Jamboard. So in orange, we're going to see which communities and which groups, right? Are there a lot of community members, maybe like in El Monte, maybe like in Montebello, I don't know, maybe Azusa or La Puente, right? When we meet, gracias, Suani, por compartir el código postal. So when we talked about TGI folks in the SGV Valley, right? Which communities do we know? And And then we have, so for example, I know that there's a group called Memories of El Monte. I'm gonna put them here. So we're gonna do them there. One of our other community advisory board member runs the SGV Pride. I don't wanna get organizations or groups wrong, but there's that. Hey, where did mine go? And then in pink, if people can add any county services and programs that exist. So if there's like a employment center, a nonprofit, someone that we provide, our community have access to in terms of programs and services. And then the last one in blue is going to be organizations and resources that exist in that district. So as I mentioned, SGV Valley Pride. Why isn't mine duplicating? Yeah. I think Memories of London just have community groups. I'm gonna put them in yellow. Or you can share here and we will add them on the Jamboard live. Oh, where do they go? Why can I see them? You can see them. Okay. Anyone would like to share any groups that you may know in District 1? ¿Algún grupo o comunidad que conozcamos en el Distrito 1? Organizaciones, recursos que existan en el programa. Well, I'll just write them and then folks can add them because mine disappear. I don't know why it did disappear. Hi, Edie. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, but folks can trickle in. Thank you for, feel free to join and click on, we're gonna reshare the links in a minute for both the survey and this Jamboard. I was going to do, I think, Camila Verena kill me. Celestia, you can correct me. Is it SGV Valley Pride? Is that SGV Center? SGV something.
I think it's
SGV Pride Center. Thank you, Celestian. I'm gonna include them right here. SGV Pride Center. Cute. Okay. Mine disappear on my desktop. I don't know where to find them, but I think you see them on the screen. Cool. All right, for the sake of time, we're going to continue. And again, we can come back to this and share with folks so that they can complete this community mapping. Planned Parenthood, good. They provide trans health resources such as HRT. Thank you for that. Holly Mitchell is the second district. I don't know. I don't think her district juts into Alhambra, but we can send you the link to the county website so you can see that. SD2 next. Santana is in Orange County. So then we have SD2, right? And here we can see TransLatin Coalition right at the northeastern edge. And we have in the K-Town area, we know that there's a lot of community members in MacArthur Park, right? So when we talk about TGI folks, Westlake, MacArthur Park area, any other community groups in Orange that we know, or where does the community live? Do they live in Carson? Does TGI folks live in, is there a heavy population in Linwood or Huntington Park? Even though this is not really part of that district, this is more southy. Communities for a Better Environment, thank you for adding that. They may be in SD4 with Sela, but I think they definitely represent that part of that neighborhood, so they can stay in that, in that side. LGBTQ South Bay, and again in blue, what are some of the organizations that exist? And in pink, right, we also want to see what is the county doing or not doing? What are some of the services that exist or don't exist in our communities, right? And if there aren't any, then we'll leave it blank. But if you know of any programs that are funded by the county in SD2, please include it. We are going to move on to the next district. Thank you folks for adding and contributing to the Jamboard and on the chat box. Oh, also, you can feel free to unmute yourself and share as well, and we can jot it down. Gracias a todos por compartir los diferentes recursos, organizaciones y comunidades que yes, we will. We're recording the meeting, and then we will send notes. Everyone, thank you for stopping by and registering. Bertha, are you trying to share love or someone around? Kimberly, creo que tienes que poner el mudo, preciosa. Can I mute you? I can mute you. Okay. So, gracias a todos por compartir los diferentes organizaciones en azul y recursos que existen en los diferentes distritos. Estamos en el distrito 3, que incluye parte de Hollywood y el oeste de Los Ángeles, el West LA y Malibu, las montañas y parte del valle. En azul, en naranja estamos poniendo las diferentes comunidades o grupos que viven en el condado. So, cuando hablamos de comunidades trans, género no conforme, viven en, supongamos, en qué parte del valle, ¿verdad? Puede ser Silmar, puede ser North Hollywood, puede ser West Hills, y obviamente aquí en otra parte del distrito, en Hollywood, qué parte de la ciudad. Y por último, en rosa tenemos los diferentes servicios o programas del condado que existen. Y si no existen, lo podemos dejar también en blanco y notar. Celestial, were you trying to share love? I thought someone unmute. No? Okay. What do I have in SD3? Somos Familia Valles in SD. I can't see if we got added already. We were, let me change the thing. They're right here in the valley. They have met with SD3 with us. Let me duplicate that.
There's Los Angeles Spoonie Collective in Northridge.
Los Angeles who?
Spoonie Collective.
Okay, thank you. And then and again, we want to thank you, Kevin, for Somos Familia for sharing. And again, we wanted to obviously focus on TGI community, TGI-led organizations, but also organizations that may have programs that serve TGI communities, right? So the county can get a better sense of this. And again, we're hoping the county will do this internally, but also this is very important for us. Thank you, Edith, for sharing your email so we can follow up with you. But we want to make sure that we are also capturing this information as well. We're gonna go to SD4 really quickly. Next slide. Because we know a couple people have to log off at 11 and we're almost done actually. SD4, again, part of the South Bay, Long Beach, the TSPN, thank you, Bambi. And then again, more of the Southeast, the Sela Collaborative, all the way going into Orange County. So do we have folks in like Hawaiian Gardens and La Mirada? Where exactly in this district do TGI folks exist, organizations, and groups? And lastly, SD5. I apologize for rushing through this one, but for the sake of time, again, this is live, so folks can come back and add to this at your own time. Again, part North Valley, part of the north of the San Gabriel Valley, and all of the Antelope Valley, Santa Clarita. What was the other city that you mentioned, Melissa? But again, where resources exist and where resources do not exist, are groups or community members. And with that being said, we can go back to our Canva presentation, and folks can work on the Jamboard at their Palmdale, thank you, Melissa, at their leisure. So share back, feel free to put in the chat box or contact us or follow up with our policy department on next steps. We do briefly want to have everyone have access to this, screen capture it, take a picture, we're going to send it to you, put your phone to the screen, I can't give you permission. Most of you still use your phone, but yes, this will be the moment where you could take out your phone and say that you're using our QR code. That will take you to a link for our toolkit, more information about our TGI Week of Action, and for you as an individual, an organization, or community groups or networks to sign on a letter of support in order to continue advancing this work. A lot of staff within TLC have experience working with different departments within the county, right? So we would like for the county to do this work within those departments, because as we know, when our clients, community members try to access housing or resources, they face different issues. But this is the first step for that. So we want all of you to be part of this work and to let the county know, right? Because when we talked about TGI folks, we're not just saying TransLatin Coalition in one office in one building and on Wilshire, right? We're saying the whole county, all of our community throughout this whole massive region and body that is represented. Por último, quiero asegurarme de que todos puedan tener acceso a este código. Pueden tomar una foto o poder apuntar su teléfono a la pantalla aquí abajo en el QR code, y los va a llevar el enlace de más información acerca de nuestra semana de acción, nuestras herramientas nuestro kit de herramientas para la abogacía, y cómo poder individualmente, como organización o como grupo, poder apoyar este trabajo y firmar una carta en apoyo para que el condado haga parte de este trabajo. Sabemos de que nosotras, ambas como miembros de la comunidad o personas que ayudan a navegar servicios, trabajamos con diferentes departamentos personal del condado, y sabemos de que no siempre es accesible o hay diferentes retos que nuestra comunidad enfrenta a tener acceso a esos servicios. Entonces queremos asegurarnos de que ustedes puedan ser parte de esos esfuerzos, alzar su voz y unirse a nosotros en esta campaña, para que el condado sea el condado quien también dirija parte de este trabajo en asesorar las necesidades de nuestra comunidad y invertir en nuestra comunidad. Thank you, everyone. We are 1 minute. I believe if folks have any questions, I can stick around for a bit to give you more context, more information. We're going to be launching, follow us on our social media, online. We're going to be launching all of our toolkit, more information about the motion. We're going to be having another training next Monday for public comment. We would love for all of you to be part of that. And we're going to be having a rally and a press conference at the next Board of Supervisor meeting, which is next Tuesday, November 15th, at 8 a.m. Gracias a todas, y con eso concluimos. Voy a mandar más información a seguir, y me voy a quedar un rato lleno de preguntas. Thank you, Yanni. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Thank you for sharing the survey. Please submit and share with folks. Thank you, Kevin. Por favor, entreguen la encuesta, mándenla por el internet y compártanla con miembros de la comunidad TGI. Thank you, folks. I will talk to all of you soon. Adios. Thank you, Rita. Okay, let me go through all the chat.